So now we're going to look at minor scales and how those are constructed and how that differs from the major scale. Minor scales are a little more complicated than major scales because there are different forms of minor scales. We actually have 3 different forms of the minor scale that we use. We have natural minor, we have harmonic minor, and we have melodic minor. So you're going to need to learn the patterns for each of those 3 scales. Now the good news is that all 3 scales, or all 3 forms of the minor scale, start with the same first 5 notes as the pattern. And really the only thing that you've got to learn to differentiate the 3 is the end of the scale, the sixth note of the scale and the 7th note of the scale. So those 2 scale degrees, 6 and 7, change depending on what form of the minor scale we're using. But the first 5 are the same. So the pattern here, if we look at our white keys, just like with C major where we had just white keys to create a C major scale, if we start on A and use white keys, from A to A we get a natural minor pattern. So the A minor scale starts on A, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we're back where we started. So the natural minor sounds like this. Okay. The pattern for the natural minor scale will be whole step, half step, whole step, yes, half step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Okay? So if we look at that pattern as it's written on the board, you're going to see I've written it here. This is the natural minor scale. If we were to write this as whole steps and half steps, we would have a 2, 1, 2, whole step in the middle, just like we did before with the major scales. Always remember that there's a whole step in the middle of these scales. And then on the outside of this, we have a half step, a whole step, and a whole step. So this is the pattern of half steps and whole steps that will create a natural minor scale. If you can remember, it's 2, 1, 2, whole step in the middle, 1, 2, 2, then you have that particular pattern. All the minor scales are going to start with this same opening pattern, 2, 1, 2, 2. It's this ending that changes, okay? So this is natural minor. I've written this in the bass clef because we don't have to use ledger lines to use A minor here. Okay, so that's natural minor. Now if we're going to use one of the other forms, let's look at harmonic minor, where we change 1 note in this scale. It's the same notes to start out. We have the same pattern here. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F. And then we have a different note at the very end of this scale, the 7th scale degree before we get back to A. G becomes G sharp. We raise that note. And that changes the pattern now. So this becomes 2, 1, 2, 2, same here. 1 again, and now we have a different interval. We have the distance from F to G sharp, which is actually 3 half steps, which is unusual. And then we have a half step at the end. From this G sharp to A is another half step. So we end with a 1, 3, 1, which is a little strange. If we look at this on the keyboard and what this sounds like, I'm going to play the same notes and then G sharp. And so it's that note going from G to G sharp is what changes this scale and makes it harmonic minor. That you may notice that's a little unusual sounding. That augmented second interval from F natural to G sharp. Okay, so if we're playing, this works if we're dealing with chords, which you'll get to later. But if we're writing a melody, or if we're just playing notes in a scale, to avoid that augmented second sound, we can change the 6th scale degree as well. We raise it, so we get F, instead of F natural, we get F sharp. And now the scale sounds like this. A little smoother sounding. And this is melodic minor form now, where we're raising the 6th scale degree and the 7th scale degree. So if I look at that on the board, if I write this over here, it's the same notes. Again, it's the same opening. A, B, C, D, E, and now we have an F sharp, and we have a G sharp before we get back to the A. Okay? And the pattern again is going to change now with the F sharp and the G sharp. So now we start with 2, 1, 2, 2, same here. And at the end, instead of this 1, 3, 1 or 1, 2, 2, we end up with 2, 2, 1, which is also the same as the end of the major scale. Okay? So this would be melodic minor, a melodic minor pattern. So you have natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor. And you just need to memorize, to keep these differentiated, you need to memorize the pattern at the end of each of those. So this 1, 2, 2, 1, 3, 1, or 2, 2, 1. Those are the differences between those three scales. Now the one thing that's unique about the melodic minor is that when you write this scale descending, you don't write it the same way. Melodic minor reverts back to natural minor if you're coming down the scale. Okay, so if I play that on the keyboard, I'm going to play going up. This is melodic minor with the F sharp and G sharp, but when I come down, I revert back to natural minor. So I don't play the F sharp and G sharp, I go back to natural notes, G natural. Okay, so the ascending form and the descending form are different. They have different notes. And again, it's just involving the 6th and 7th scale degrees. That's the only thing that changes in any of these different minor scales.